Only a true horse player would be somewhat disappointed even after cashing for $85,000 in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. And that's usually because he feels that he should have done even better. As crazy as that might sound to the casual horse player, that is absolutely the right mindset to have as a serious player. You always need to be honest with yourself, analyze your plays, and then figure out new ways to take your game to a whole new level. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Scatoni, and welcome back for another edition of Best Bet. As I always like to remind folks, this is not a traditional selection show. I'm not going to talk about every race, just looking at specific races and wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or ask us any questions. The show will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms. So I alluded to that disappointing $85,000 score in the BCBC at the top of the show, and that's because today's guest cashed out for that amount. Yet his competitive spirit had him thinking that he could have done even more. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but first let me introduce a man who has been on this show several times before, and he's no stranger to the top of the leaderboard in every live bankroll contest he plays in. Please welcome today's guest, Dylan Donnelly. Dylan, what's good?
Hello. Good Sunday afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. I was being somewhat facetious in the intro, only because when we were texting back and forth about today's show, you jokingly said to me, and this is a direct quote, "I will also tell the listeners how to blow away the day one lead in the BCBC." I thought that was hysterical. You still did pretty good. I mean, you cashed out for $85,000. So in general, the tournament was a huge success. That's a really, really good hit. But that one statement you made to me opens up so many topics. So two things I wanted to ask you about. One, how did you put up such a large number on day one? I mean, you were running 1-2 on your two entries after day one with, close to 50,000, more than that on one and maybe a little less on the other. But that's number one. And number two, what do you think you could have done differently on day two to, maybe take home the big prize?
Yeah, I mean, so I really liked the third race on Friday. And I was calling people. I said, hey, I'm going to win the tournament in the third race. Come and catch me. I'm either going to go broke on one entry or I'm going to have 160,000. And that's what that was my goal. And I don't know what happened, but within the 30 minutes of making the bets before the race, some other creature took over my body, and I bet poorly, and I bet like 2,500, $3,000 on both entries. And even after, when Wet My Beak won, everyone was like, oh, what did you cash for? Immediately when they crossed the wire, because I was sweating out the try.
Yeah.
And immediately after, I told in my head, I was like, I messed this up. I didn't cash for enough. I didn't do it. I shouldn't have to be sweating out this trifecta. It should have just been, I should have already hit for a lot of money with, like, if I hit the try, so what? Like, that's just an added bonus.
Right.
And I bet poorly, and I will hopefully never make that mistake. I've literally had nightmares / dreams, like, I honestly, like, what entry I was playing, like, what entry do I make what bet on in my dreams? Like, don't mess this up, Dylan. Don't mess this up, Dylan. It consumed me for a while, and it's all right. We'll get better.
Yeah, but let's be honest, though. I mean, what were your scores after that race?
Yeah, so 65,000 and 50,000, I believe, around there on both entries. I had another daily double going to the next race for another 80,000. The Source Private Gem ran second, almost won. So, if I hit the try, which I was a nose away, and I hit the next race, I'm at 160 and 140 on both entries, and it was by this much. But still, I should have just absolutely crushed the exacta and win bets, and it's on my fourth BCBC, so we'll get better.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, you ran second, right? I believe, and picked up
third.
$100,000.
Yeah.
You ran third. Yeah, what'd you take home that day?
That was 264.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
So I'd say your track record in the BCBC is pretty good. I'd say you're up on your life in those
Yeah.
four tournaments. So I don't want to get too into the weeds talking about tournament play, but I do want to talk about the mental side of things, because you're telling me that you're having nightmares about what you could have done differently. So first off, if you're playing the tournament to win, you have to be aggressive, and you can't be afraid to lose and maybe even go broke and end up with zero. That's easier said than done. You have to have the mental fortitude to have that kind of approach. But more importantly, to go back to what you were saying, I always say as horse players, we need to evolve or die. The game is constantly changing. What worked yesterday might not necessarily work today. We have to constantly evaluate our play, maximize our strengths, minimize our weaknesses, try and figure out what we can do better. You're a pretty young player, and you've had so much success. But, have you learned any lessons that have made you a better player and will continue to make you a better player?
Yeah, I've learned a lot just by talking to people who have been better, who have been doing this for a long time, and just like the mental side of, you don't really need to go broke in these contests. If I kind of tilted one of my bottom entry at the start of day 2, but you don't need to go broke. You can just bet a little, and because it's so hard to make money. So if you are up, try to maintain that capital and just risk a little to win a lot. You can still try to win with not, investing a lot of your bankroll, because, you take home 30,000 or whatever. That's a lot of money. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to blow that. You really don't. That 30,000. That's 10 or 12 of the next live tournaments, really, that you can buy in for. Mentally, if you don't learn from your mistakes, that's a lot of failures lead to success. And try different things. You have to stay even keeled, and you can't be scared. And if you're scared, it's going to eat you up. Woulda, shoulda, couldas. Yeah.
And like you said, even though you hit that race early in the tournament, you still felt sick about it because
after the finish line. I just knew. I knew I messed up. I knew it, and that was my best opinion of the 2 days. And I just didn't. I didn't win. I didn't win the contest. And I when you have a $46 horse, and the exacta, and you're planning on going broke with 7,500, you should win the contest.
You should, yeah.
If you bet properly. So
yeah. No, I know. And like I said, that's why I said it's easier said than done. We could talk about it all day long and say, you need to do this, this, and this. And then when you walk up to that machine and you start seeing your bankroll go down, getting close to zero when you're hitting the repeat button, it's a little unnerving. You have to really have the discipline and the strength and mental fortitude to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, and it's, you're in a room with a bunch of your friends, and, it's the Breeders' Cup, and I'm like, man, do I really want to go broke on one entry? And I have no problem going broke in the first race in any other contest. If that's my best opinion, I don't care. If it's the first, last, it don't matter. Something took over my body, and I wimped out pushing the buttons, and I hit, but I just didn't, it is, whatever.
But again, I love it because, it's a learning experience. Every time we go to the race, it's a learning experience. And now you're looking at that and you're like, I'll never make that mistake again. But
it's even like, not even betting wise. If you just go to the track and you tell yourself, like, if you have a problem of not playing a lot, like you play a lot of races, and you go and you tell yourself, hey, I'm just going to have some drinks or something like that for the first half of the races to try to help your discipline. Yeah. And you feel better. Like, discipline is so big. It's so big. If you don't have discipline, it's just gonna.
Oh, the game will wear you out. It'll just wear you down to a nub. No, I know. So, we're talking about live bankroll tournaments, and like I said, we can talk all day about that. And I love picking your brain about that kind of stuff. But I want to pivot a little bit to, daily play. Does your tournament strategy and approach differ a lot from, like today, a normal Sunday, and you're not playing in a big tournament? Or is it kind of similar? Because, for those who don't know, in live bankroll contests, you're limited with your wagers. You can play win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, and double. So there's no pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. So if you're that kind of player, contest format's not going to be kind to you. So what do you do in that situation? Do you just focus on, the typical bets you would make in a tournament, or do you do other stuff on a normal daily day?
I mean, it's changed a lot. Changed a lot. I'd say like the last, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, a year. Just I would go daily play, and I would just try to make a profit of that day. Um, and if I make two to 3 to 1 on my money, it's like, hey, okay, let's just keep on trucking. At the end of the year, hopefully your graph, your thing is up. Um, but now it seems like the last 18 months, a year or so, if I'm making 2 bets in a day or 3 bets, I'm trying to crush it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to really hit it and kind of treat it like a contest-ish type of decision, just to get in that mindset of really trying to hammer something, and not just take 2 or 3 to 1s, 4 to 1s like I used to, and just say, oh, that's value. Like, I'll take it. Now I've just evolved into a more of a contest, and you're practicing. Like, I'm practicing for contests, for other contests later on. Because that's where, if you can win one contest, it can make your whole year. I mean, it really can. So, if you practice throughout, like, I had a friend who played in the BCBC, and I was like, hey, let's take this Saturday and let's practice. Here's your mythical thing, and just practice. And that's what I've been kind of doing, is just looking at the card and seeing what my best opinions are, and kind of treating it like a contest.
Yeah, that's interesting that you should say that, because I've had the last 2 winners of the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge on here, Matt Miller and Drew Coatney, and they approach it very similarly. It's like they turn the day into their own personal contest. They say, you know what, I'm starting with this bankroll, and I want to make X amount my bankroll, and here are the 2 or 3 races that are going to get me there. But you do that over and over again, and then suddenly it comes to the time when you're actually in the contest. It's second nature. It's, you know what I mean? It's like the muscle memory just kicks in, and you're kind of conditioned to play that way. So I think that's a brilliant approach.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not setting a bankroll for the day. I'm just setting the amount of bets that I'm probably gonna, play. Because if you do actually like 6 bets in a day and you go over your bankroll, it's like, you have to. It's difficult. Some people do have a bankroll that, like, I got $100 for the day and I can't go over, and they like 5 bets. I don't know. It's difficult. You try to learn all the time and adjust what works, and I'm always trying new things. So maybe I don't like this in 6 months. I don't know.
Well, exactly. You got to change your game.
Yeah.
You look back and say, you know what, I got to do something different. So.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And yeah, you don't have to be so rigorous about it when you're kind of practicing for fun. But what I meant is your style of play has evolved more into your contest play. Even your daily play has evolved into your style of contest play.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome. Let's just talk a little bit about your handicapping style. What tools do you use? How do you analyze a race? I know you're trying to pick and choose your spots, but what are you looking for?
Recently I've been looking for more big fields. And some tracks it's kind of difficult to find that. So I tend to be playing a lot of grass races. They fill more. I mean, there's more opportunities with 9, 10, 11, 12 horse fields, and sometimes you only get 1 a day in it. And I'll probably try to dig into that race and see if there's a bet in there. If there's a 6 horse field, usually I'm just gonna pass it unless it's in a pick 6 carryover, unless it's I pick 5 big pools and stuff that I'm gonna be playing that I have some opinions in. But yeah, I kind of I just look for. I've been looking a lot at trips. I've been paying more attention to jockeys recently in grass races. Who's more aggressive? Who doesn't want to be covered up? Some people love to be covered up. Some I feel like they don't know that saving ground is key. They just want to be stuck outside for some reason. You can play a lot of. I look to inside horses at prices, because if they're going to run 30 feet less, they don't have to be as good as some of the other horses. You know, and if I'm playing a horse on the outside with an outside post, you better be getting odds.
Yeah.
You need to be compensated. They're going to probably be running farther. And unless you know that jockey is going to completely drop to the back or completely send to the front, I need to get compensated with odds if I'm going to be playing someone from out there. And today, like some of my bets are horses out on the outside, but I'm going to be getting some, you know, I think value with good prices. So yeah, just kind of trips. Who's going to be sitting up where? Yeah, handicapping wise, just who's going to get the lead. Try to set up the race a lot. Let's try to set up one race and really dig into it and try to make a bet from that. You know, yeah.
That's perfect for this show because that's what we're going to talk about, and we'll get to the. I know you have 2 races picked out. We'll get to that in just a second, but I want to just pivot a little bit and talk about the ownership side of the game. You know, yesterday you had a horse that you claimed named Tom and Jazzy run 3rd in a tough 50K claiming race. You know, so hats off to you for that. First off, what attracted you to the ownership side of the game, and secondly, you know, without giving away your trade secrets, you know, how do you decide what horses to claim? You know, does your handicapping knowledge even play any role into that, or you just let your trainer decide? I mean, how involved are you?
Yeah, so I got into it just by kind of building up a role, and then, you know, a friend was like, "Hey, I was thinking about claiming a horse," and I'm like, "Hey, all right, I could do this for like, you know, 20% or something," and got my feet wet, got my ownership license, and then. You know, it seems there's 2 types of claims, like owners, I feel. Like you can try to claim a horse for 20 and just run him back a month later in the same spot, little risk, and you're gonna try. If the horse runs 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, you're gonna make some money and you're gonna get claimed from you.
Right.
That's you know, that's a good way to look at it. I feel like in my 4 claims that I've made by myself, I'm trying to do career-changing claims. Whether it's a dirt horse. And I'm like, nope, that's a grass horse. That's a career-changing thing. If I'm right, I mean, you better be, you know, you're trying to be right. You know, I want to win a lot of races with this horse. This horse is a router. I think it's completely a sprinter. So I'm going to completely change his career.
Right.
So that's more of a gamble than just trying to claim a horse for 20 and run him back for 20 the next time. That doesn't really interest me. I kind of have that gamble in me. So I feel like there's 2 different ways to own horses, 2 different things. I just feel like in my 4 claims, that's what I've leaned towards is career-changing things. And it's difficult. I'm trying to break even. That's my goal. I mean, Tom and Jazzy, I claimed him for 35. He's ran 3 times. I ran 4th and 3rd. And the other one, he was on the dirt. He didn't like it. Yeah, I mean, we collected $5,600 yesterday. That'll pay for, you know, 6 weeks, 7 weeks of training. And, you know, I thought he was a sprinter. Turns out he didn't like sprinting, so I was wrong. And you have to be wrong as an owner. Like you have to realize that you're wrong and just don't run him in the wrong spots.
Right.
Like, I was wrong. Let's do something different. You can't be scared to say like, nope, just not good enough. And like yesterday's effort, he was, you know, just wasn't good enough. He was a perfect trip, a little aggressive. I thought he was a sprinter, but now in the back of my head overnight, I want to send him not 10 furlongs, 9 furlongs. Send him to the lead, and maybe he's just a grinder, and he can keep going. I was wrong about him being a sprinter, and at a mile he can't like get that quick in the last 3/16 of a mile. So, you know, he's sound, super sound, and he's just aggressive early in his races. So maybe just put him on the lead and open up by 4, and just let him relax and not be so aggressive. I don't know.
Why not?
That or put him in for 8, and just hopefully someone take him. Yeah.
That was a tough race there. There was some good horses in that field yesterday, I thought. So I thought, all things considered, I thought your horse ran really well.
Fine. Yeah.
All right, one last question before we get to the races. You know, you're a young player. You're the future generation of the sport. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but, you know, if you were appointed commissioner of racing tomorrow, what's the first thing you would try to do to make the game better, or at least bring up as a talking point?
I would not charge Red Bull vodkas $29 at Del Mar. It is absolutely absurd. My friend and I also we got a whiskey and a Grey Goose and soda. You know, say you want young kids to go there and 2 kids to go up there and get 2 drinks. It was $48.
Yeah.
And then you want these kids to bet as well? Like, come on. anyways,
we don't want to price people out of the market.
Yeah. I don't know much. I'm not smart enough to come up with plans to better the game. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not really. That's not my forte. It's I know, just don't bet in high takeout pools and
Yeah.
try to stay disciplined. I can't. I'll let some smarter people. They'll voice some opinions. I'm like, hey, that's good. Like, let's go with that. Or nah, that's stupid. I don't support that. So
I love it.
I'm not gonna be on any panel.
You stay in your lane. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what you're good at, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's get to the races. Got some little handicapping and wagering to do. It's a 9-race card. Dylan singled out 2 races. We're going to start with race 7, a $25,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime conditional claimer contested at 1 mile on the lawn with the rails at 18 feet. I did this race for the Del Mar website, so you can go to dmtc.com to see what I think. But I thought it was a pretty wide open race. So I'm really curious to hear, Dylan, how you're playing it, how you've analyzed it, and how you're going to tackle it. So talk us through race 7.
Yeah, I feel like I know these horses quite well, because it seems like all of my horses that I claim are just not quite good enough to get to the next level, and they always run in these non-winners of 2 races. So I kind of know some of these horses. I think I don't know if there's gonna be a ton of pace. By setting it up like the 3, the 4, maybe who else is in here? Yeah, probably the 3 and the 4 and the 1. I think those are they're gonna all try to maintain their position, and so I don't want to take a short price horse on the outside, who I know is going to be towards the way complete back of the pack. So I just crossed out the 10. I'm not using him. This 9 horse, the Key is Unity. I think he's going to probably drift up from a 6-1, and I know he's on the outside, and I don't really like it, but he's stretching out for some sprints. This Losal trainer has got to put his hands on him at Losal, where there's not a lot of people there, and kind of work his magic over there. And he does have some fast numbers in his previous races, and I do think he'll drift up. Diego Herrera, I think he's a great job. I think he's very good, and he likes to save ground. He understands that. He is not afraid to get towards the rail. So I think he's going to actually get a good trip, I hope, at 10-1. And the other 2 horses I'm going to key him in exactas with, or I'm going to put just the 9 on top of the 2 and the 3, because I'm not, I'm going to get 10-1, but I don't want to dilute the price with him first and second when he's not a big long shot. I'm just going to put him on top. If he wins, he wins. And if the 2 or the 3 run second, then hopefully we get 30-1 on the exacta, or something around that. That'd be great. Doug O'Neill gets to take his time with this 2-horse Derecho Dandy the last 2 months. He was in a tougher class last time, and he's going to be saving ground on the inside. He's got back numbers. Some of his races earlier in the year, he was getting completely outside posts, never had a chance to get an inside post and save any ground. And that was against tougher, like in the next step up. I thought 34 Coupe 2 back when it ran a phenomenal race. I really like in grass races when the top 2 pull away. At least 2 lengths in a grass race, I think is massive. So really a man who actually bet that day, and 34 Coupe, they just dogged it out throughout the stretch. Really battled, and this horse never saved any ground. I really hate when we call it the trip of death, when they're just sitting right on the outside of the horse chasing them. And they never get a chance to take a deep breath. They're always chasing. Yeah. And it's just, I don't like it at all.
I agree. In turf racing, that's the worst trip. It's the worst trip possible.
It really is, just right on the hip of them. And you're chasing. You don't get to get to the rail and relax and get covered up. So I think Rispoli with good inside post. Whether he completely sends, I'd rather him do that or just tuck in. Hopefully if I can get 30-1 on this exacta, somewhere around there, 25-1, 20-1. I'll be playing that.
And I didn't put it up here, and I forgot to ask you actually, so I'll ask you now. Will you also bet the Key is Unity, the 9-horse to win as well, or are you just going to play an exotic?
Nah, I'm just going to play the exactas. Because if I bet him to win, I mean, you could bet him to win. Say you bet $100 to win on him, and then, $5 exactas. You don't want to, I don't know, just dilute your price. Say you do $100 to win, but then $50 exactas, and you miss the exacta, and you only get 5-1 on your money. It's just like, if you're gonna be right, be right. Don't just, yeah, don't. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong math. Guys would say no, that's stupid. Maybe, I don't know. But that's just, I feel like if you're gonna be right, just really be right and get your 30-1.
All right, I love it. I mean, you got to be aggressive. You got to try to maximize your strongest opinions. All right, let's move on to race 9. It's a Calbred maiden special, contested at 1 mile on the turf with the rails at 18 feet. Morning line favorite number 1, Touchdown Kittle at 5-2. He has tactical speed in the rail, so he should get a good forwardly placed trip. I mean, he looks perfectly fine, but he's already had 4 chances at this level and still hasn't graduated. I actually liked a few others in here, and it looks like you do too. And in fact, it looks like you're building your day around a big bomberoo in here. So let's hear you talk us through race.
Yeah. Yes, you said it. Touchdown Kittle looks perfectly fine. Right. I'm not trying to bet perfectly fine. Like, he's just 2-1,
what you
3-1,
see is what you get.
7. Yeah, I mean, it's great. He's going to be saving ground. He's probably going to get a good trip. Les last race was at 1 mile and an eighth, and I thought he was flat down the lane. Maybe it was because it was 1 mile and an eighth, and he's cutting back. But he just had a perfect trip. I have 0 excuses. I want nothing to do with this horse. I'm not saying he can't do anything. Sure, he can run first, second, or third. But this two horse, very, very intriguing. He actually finally passed some horses down the lane last time. He was wide. He was in the 9 of the 9 hole with the rails out at 30 feet last time. He was outside. He wasn't really covered up. He was kind of always having to just be urged along. The last quarter of a mile, he was running faster than mostly any of these horses, and he was making up ground. So maybe he's slowly starting to figure it out. He's got a good post. He's 20-1. If he can just ride the rail the whole way, and with my bets, if he can run first, second, or third, and just clunk up there for second or third, and while everyone else is doing the dirty work, he could. I bet you he's higher than 20-1. So he showed something last time, and sometimes they figure it out. He's got 3 works since his last race. It seems like this is a Drysdale horse that this is what he gets some prices. Let's see, Maxville 0-for-7, deep closer, don't really like him. And who else is the horses? Dark Marcus 0-for-15, take him. From out there. So I really like Ghostly Act in there as well. That horse uncovered last time, chasing Big O from Fresno. It was kind of disappointing the other day, but I think he's a good, decent Calbred. I think he gets it. I don't think Kyle will probably he'll probably save ground this race because the 1's going to be out there, the 3's going to be out there. Hopefully Kyle's not just 3 wide out in the clear. This Antibes ran a very fast figure first time out. Last time was green. Kind of just, I don't know, I'm going to toss it out. Giovanni's a great grass rider. He likes to save ground. This horse has got a good kick. And then I thought the 11 last time, that trip that I hate, and coming out of the same race as the 2 horse, he was chasing, uncovered, wide. This horse is going to be a good price. Maybe the kid, Torrey Alba, can save some ground, maybe just be covered up a little bit. He probably won't get to the rail, but, being the second or third flight, and just with the horse to his outside, and he's tracking another horse. If I'm right in this thing, it's going to pay phenomenal in this race. And you have to go against favorite. I think the favorite's vulnerable, the other, and Dark Marcus. So, that this is bad favorites and prices. That's just where you have to gamble.
I agree. I thought this was the best betting race on the card, and you could definitely find some prices. I liked all the horses you talked about. And, like I said, when I set up the race, the favorite just, could win. Yeah. Not excited about him,
I expect to lose. If he wins, when I make a bet, like, I'm not shocked when I lose. It's, you're going to lose a lot of the time. And when you hit like this race, you invest, a couple $100 into it. I'm going to try to hit for 15,000,
Yeah. Right, and if the horse loses, at least you know that you were putting yourself in a if the favorite
Yeah.
wins, at least you know you were putting yourself in a position to make money if your opinion was correct, make good money,
Definitely.
not just
100%.
grinding out, like really hitting something.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to really crush this race. So
I love it.
yeah,
So yeah, if you look at the screen, everyone, Dylan is keying the 2-horse Aviator Nation, first, second, and third. First and second in trifectas with the exactas with the 7 and 8, and then in trifectas with the 7, 8, and 11. First, second, and third slots. If Dylan's right, we won't have to. We don't care about spending $29 on a vodka Red Bull. We can drink all the vodka Red Bulls we want if we hit this race.
damn straight. Buy for the whole round, for the whole bar.
All right, Dylan,
Damn
thank you
straight.
so much for taking the time to do this. You know, I love seeing you at the track. I love talking horses with you. I appreciate you taking the time. That's a wrap, everyone. I will be back next week. I want to wish everyone a happy early Thanksgiving. Have a great week with friends and family. And as I always like to say, good luck to us and let's make some money. Thanks, everyone.